The worst betrayals don't happen with a bang. They happen in a whisper, just loud enough to shatter a woman's entire world. Leah stood frozen outside the mahogany door of the men's lounge at the prestigious Sterling Country Club. She was holding a freshly pressed tuxedo jacket, the one Evan Sterling needed for the engagement photos being taken later that afternoon. Inside, the air was thick with cigar smoke and the clinking of crystal glasses. But Evan's voice cut through the noise, arrogant and painfully familiar. "Relax, guys. Nothing is going to change," Evan said, his tone dripping with the lazy confidence of a man who had never been told no in his 28 years. "The marriage to Serena is just business. It's what the family trust requires. The merger makes everyone richer." "But what about your little house pet?" another male voice asked, followed by a low chuckle. "What about Leah? She's been warming your bed for 3 years. Is she just going to roll over and accept you marrying the heiress?" Leah's grip on the hanger tightened until her knuckles turned white. She held her breath, a desperate, foolish part of her heart praying he would defend her, praying he would say he loved her, that he was fighting his parents, that she mattered. Instead, Evan laughed. It was a cold, dismissive sound. "Where is she going to go?" Evan asked, as if the question itself was absurd. "She's the housekeeper's daughter. My mother took her in out of pity when her parents died. She has no money, no connections, and no family except us. She knows her place. She'll stay in the downtown apartment. She'll be good, and she'll wait for me. Besides, Serena doesn't care as long as I'm discreet. Leah is comfortable. She won't cause a scene. Comfortable, safe a pet." The words hit Leah like a physical blow to the chest. For 3 years, she had given him everything. She had hidden in the shadows, believing his whispered promises in the dark that he just needed time to convince the board that he loved her for who she was, not her pedigree. She realized now that to him, she wasn't a partner. She was an accessory he owned, like his vintage watch or his sports car. Something to be kept on a shelf until he wanted to play with it. This is the line that ends everything. Not because it is cruelty she could forgive, but because it is casual. Evan discusses her future, like he is discussing his dry cleaning schedule. She'll be good, like she is a dog, like obedience is her natural state. The tragedy isn't that he doesn't love her. It is that he genuinely believes she has nowhere else to go. That is not confidence. That is stupidity. She didn't storm in. She didn't scream. The years of living under the Sterling family's roof as the charity case had taught her to make herself invisible. Leah quietly hung the tuxedo jacket on the door handle, turned around, and walked away. Her heels clicked against the marble floor, a steady, rhythmic countdown to the end of her old life. By the time she reached the apartment Evan paid for, the gilded cage she had called home, the tears had dried. There was no room for sadness anymore, only a cold, sharp clarity. She looked around the living room filled with expensive things Evan had bought her, the designer bags she rarely used, the jewelry that was too flashy for her taste. He bought them to mark his territory, not to please her. Leah moved with the efficiency of a soldier. She called a luxury consignment service that promised immediate cash payouts. Within 2 hours, everything was gone. The bags, the shoes, the diamond earrings, all converted into a check that would fund her freedom. She packed 2 suitcases with only the clothes she had bought with her own salary as a graphic designer. Finally, she went to the bathroom sink. She pulled off the simple silver band on her finger. It wasn't an engagement ring. It was a cheap, handmade ring. Evan had bought her at a street fair when they first started sleeping together. He had told her it meant more than diamonds. She looked at it one last time, remembering the boy she thought he was, and realizing that boy had died a long time ago. She dropped the ring into the drain, flipped the switch for the garbage disposal, and listened to the metal grind into dust. She left the key on the counter. She didn't leave a note. Notes were for people who expected to be chased. Leah didn't want to be found. The hangover from the bachelor party was pounding behind Evan's eyes when he finally unlocked the door to the downtown apartment 2 days later. He loosened his tie, expecting the familiar scent of vanilla candles and the sight of Leah curled up on the sofa, waiting to ask him how his weekend was. He had the script ready in his head, a quick kiss, a vague explanation about business meetings, and then he would take her to bed to remind her who she belonged to. "Leah," he called out, tossing his keys on the counter. "I'm hungry. Did you go grocery shopping?" Silence. The air in the apartment felt stale. Dead. He walked into the living room and stopped. It looked wrong. The shelves were bare. The closet door was open, revealing empty hangers swaying in the draft from the air conditioner. The vanity in the bedroom, usually cluttered with her skincare products, was wiped clean. Panic, cold and sharp, pricked at his skin. He pulled out his phone and dialed her number. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." He stared at the screen, unable to process what he was hearing. No longer in service. Leah didn't change her number. Leah didn't leave. Leah needed him. She was the fragile orphan his mother had saved. She wouldn't survive a day in the real world without the sterling safety net. "She is just throwing a tantrum," Evan muttered to himself, pouring a drink with a shaking hand. "She probably saw the engagement announcement in the paper. She's hiding at a hotel. She'll come crawling back when the credit card bill is due." He logged into his banking app to freeze the supplementary card he had given her. But when he pulled up the account, he saw zero activity. She hadn't used his money to leave. She hadn't touched a cent of it in weeks. 2,000 miles away, in a rainy, bustling city in the Pacific Northwest, Leah was breathing air that finally felt like her own. She stood in a small, unfurnished studio apartment. It was a fraction of the size of the place she had left, but the lease was in her name. The money in her bank account was hers. She had already secured a job at a mid-sized tech firm. Her portfolio, which she had secretly built up over years of working late nights while Evan was out partying, spoke for itself. "Welcome to the team, Leah," a voice said behind her. She turned to see Liam Hayes, the department director. He was older than Evan, perhaps 32, with laugh lines around his eyes and a quiet intensity that commanded respect without demanding it. He wasn't wearing a tuxedo or a flashy watch. He wore a simple button-down, with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms that looked like they actually did work. "Thank you, Mr. Hayes," Leah said, instinctively smoothing her skirt, a habit from years of being scrutinized by Evan's mother. "Liam," he corrected gently. "We don't really do titles here, and you can relax, Leah. You were hired because you're the best candidate, not because of who you know. I saw your work. It's brilliant, but it looks restrained, like you were holding back." Leah looked up at him, surprised by his perception. I was used to following very strict guidelines." Liam smiled, and it wasn't the predatory smirk she was used to. It was warm. "Well, you are free here. Burn the guidelines. I want to see what you can do." For the first time in years, the knot of anxiety in Leah's chest loosened. Back in the East Coast, Evan was raging at an empty room, smashing a vase against the wall because his favorite toy had gone missing. But here, in the soft gray light of a new city, Leah was beginning to realize that she wasn't a pet who needed a keeper. She was a woman who had just opened the cage door herself. 3 months had passed, and the silence from the West Coast was driving Evan slowly, dangerously insane. While Leah was navigating the rain-slicked streets of her new city, Evan was drowning in the excess of his old life. The engagement party to Serena had been the social event of the season, a splashy affair filled with champagne towers and forced smiles. But every time Evan looked at Serena, he felt a spike of irritation. Serena was loud. She needed constant attention. She drank too much at dinner and flirted with the waiters to make him jealous. She wasn't Leah, who knew exactly how he took his coffee. Leah, who could soothe his headaches with cool fingers and silence. "You are obsessed," a friend told him over drinks one night, watching Evan scroll through a private investigator's report on his phone. "She's gone, man. Let it go." "She's playing a game," Evan snapped, downing his scotch. "She wants me to chase her. It's a power play. She thinks if she stays away long enough, I'll call off the wedding. But she forgets who holds the purse strings." He didn't know that Leah wasn't thinking about him at all. It was a Tuesday evening, and Leah was sitting on the floor of her apartment, surrounded by the cardboard carnage of a bookshelf she was trying to assemble. Her hair was in a messy bun, and she had a smudge of dirt on her cheek. She was frustrated, tired, and utterly content. A knock at the door made her jump. She opened it to find Liam standing there, holding a paper bag that smelled like heaven, Thai takeout. "I saw the light on," Liam said, leaning against the doorframe. He looked tired too, but his eyes were warm. "I figured you might be starving. You skipped lunch again." "I was in the zone," Leah admitted, stepping back to let him in. "And now I am fighting a losing battle with an Allen wrench." Liam chuckled, setting the food on her small kitchen island. He took off his jacket, rolled up his sleeves, and sat on the floor next to the half-built shelf. "Let me see." For the next hour, they ate pad thai out of cartons and built the furniture. There was no pressure, no expectation. At one point, Liam reached over to tighten a screw, and his arm brushed against hers. Leah flinched, a reflex born from years of walking on eggshells around Evan's unpredictable moods. Liam stopped immediately. He didn't pull away, but he didn't push closer. He just looked at her, his expression serious. "I am not him, Leah," he said softly. Leah looked down at her hands. "I know. It is just hard to unlearn things." "Take your time," Liam said, handing her a bottle of water. "I am not going anywhere, and for the record, you are doing amazing. You walked into that boardroom yesterday and commanded the room. You don't need anyone's permission to be great." Tears pricked Leah's eyes. It was the first time a man had praised her competence, not her appearance or her obedience. While Leah was building a home, Evan was destroying his. He sat in the dark of the penthouse, staring at a photo on Instagram. It was posted by one of his West Coast acquaintances. In the background of a coffee shop photo, blurred but unmistakable, was Leah. She was laughing, actually laughing, with her head thrown back, and sitting across from her was a man. Evan zoomed in. The man was handsome, older, looking at Leah like she was the only person in the room. The glass in Evan's hand shattered. Blood mixed with the amber liquid on the floor. "You think you can replace me?" Evan hissed to the empty room. "You think you can just walk away and be happy? Not while I still have a card to play." The call came in the middle of a presentation. Leah saw the East Coast area code and ignored it. She had blocked Evan's number, but she hadn't blocked the Sterling family landline. It rang again and again. Finally, Liam nodded at her. "Take it. It might be an emergency." Leah stepped into the hallway, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Hello, Leah? Thank God." It was the Sterling family's longtime attorney, a man she had known since she was a child. His voice sounded grave. "It's Mrs. Sterling. She collapsed this morning. It's her heart. The doctors aren't sure if she's going to make the night. The floor seemed to drop out from under her. Mrs. Sterling. The woman who had taken her in. The woman who was cold and distant. Yes, but who had given her a roof over her head when she had nothing. Complicated gratitude warred with her instinct for self-preservation. I am in Seattle, Leah stammered. She's asking for you, Leah. She wants to make things right before... Well, please, just come home. Leah hung up, shaking. She turned around to find Liam standing there. He didn't ask what happened. He just saw her face and knew. I'll drive you to the airport, he said. I have to go alone. Leah whispered. It's my past. I have to deal with it. I know, Liam said, stepping closer and placing his hands on her shoulders, grounding her. But you're not going alone. I have business in New York anyway. I'm coming with you. I won't come into the hospital if you don't want me to, but I'll be right outside. You are not walking back into that lion's den without backup. 6 hours later, Leah was rushing down the sterile corridors of Lenox Hill Hospital, her luggage still in the trunk of the rental car. Her chest was tight with guilt. Had she caused this? Did her leaving break the old woman's heart? She burst into the private suite, expecting to see monitors, tubes, a grieving family. Instead, she saw Mrs. Sterling sitting up in bed, looking perfectly healthy, flipping through a Vogue magazine. There were no tubes, no frantic doctors, just a fruit basket and the low hum of the television. Anne, sitting in the armchair in the corner, looking smug and entirely unbothered, was Evan. He stood up as she entered, a slow, predatory smile spreading across his face. I knew you'd come. You're too soft, Leah. You always were. Leah stopped dead in the center of the room. The air conditioning was freezing, but the heat of rage that flushed through her body was scorching. She's not dying? It was a palpitation, Mrs. Sterling said dismissively, not even looking up from her magazine. Evan insisted it was serious. Really, Leah, running away to the other side of the country. It's so dramatic. Just come home and stop this nonsense. The apartment is dusty. The apartment is dusty. 3 words, that is all Mrs. Sterling needs to summarize 3 years of Leah's life. Not we missed you. Not we were worried. Just, the apartment is dusty. She didn't fake a heart attack because she loved Leah. She faked it because the help quit, and rich people hate doing their own laundry. This is the moment Leah realizes she wasn't family. She was staff with benefits. That was it. That was all she was to them. A housekeeper. A possession that had been misplaced. Evan walked toward her, arms open, as if expecting her to fall into them, weeping with relief. See, Mom needs you. I need you. Stop pretending you're some career woman. You belong here. I forgive you for leaving. Okay. We can just go back to how it was. He reached out to touch her face smack. The sound echoed off the linoleum walls. Leah's hand stung. Evan's head snapped to the side, a bright red handprint blooming on his pale, shocked cheek. Mrs. Sterling gasped and dropped her magazine. Don't you dare touch me, Leah said. Her voice trembling, not with fear, but with a fury she had suppressed for 20 years. You lied about a heart attack. You dragged me across the country because you couldn't handle me saying no. I did it because I love you. Evan shouted, the mask slipping. He looked like a petulant child. You belong to me. You owe us everything. You'd be on the street if it wasn't for my family. I owed you, Leah corrected, standing taller than she ever had in her life. I paid that debt every single day for 3 years. I paid it with my dignity. I paid it by letting you hide me like a dirty secret while you paraded Serena around. The debt is paid, Evan. I'm done. You can't leave, Evan sneered, stepping between her and the door. You have nothing out there. No money, no friends. You'll fail. The door behind Leah opened. Liam stood there. He was wearing a dark wool coat, looking every inch the powerful, self-made man he was. He didn't look at Evan. He looked at Leah. "Ready to go?" Liam asked calmly. Evan laughed, a harsh, barking sound. "Who is this? Your Uber driver?" Liam finally looked at Evan. His gaze was cold, assessing, like he was looking at a bug he didn't want to step on because it would dirty his shoe. "I am the man who's waiting for her, and unlike you, I don't need to lock the door to keep her." He held out his hand to Leah. "Let's go home, Leah." Leah looked at Evan, at his red face, his frantic eyes, his hollow arrogance. Then she looked at Liam, steady, patient, respectful. She didn't say another word to the Sterlings. She took Liam's hand, and for the first time, she walked out of that room not as an orphan running away, but as a woman walking towards something real. Evan Sterling did not handle rejection well. He handled it the way he handled everything, with money, arrogance, and a spectacular lack of self-awareness. 2 weeks after the disaster at the hospital, Leah walked into her new office in Seattle to find chaos. The reception area, usually a sleek space of glass and steel, looked like a Starbucks had exploded inside it. Trays upon trays of lattes, frappuccinos, and pastries covered every available surface. "What is this?" Leah asked the receptionist, who looked both bewildered and heavily caffeinated. "A delivery," the receptionist said, handing Leah a card made of heavy cream, colored cardstock embossed with the Sterling family crest. "For the whole office, from a Evan Sterling." He said he wanted to make sure his fiancée was well caffeinated. Fiancée, the audacity stole the breath from Leah's lungs. He wasn't just claiming her. He was marking her territory publicly, humiliating her in her new sanctuary. He wanted everyone to know she belonged to someone powerful, someone rich, someone they couldn't compete with. Heads were turning. Whispers started. "Is Leah engaged to a Sterling? I thought she was dating Liam. Why is she working here if she has that kind of money?" Leah felt the old shame creeping up her neck, the feeling of being the charity case on display. But then she remembered the weight of Liam's hand on her shoulder at the hospital. She remembered the look on Evan's face when she slapped him. She wasn't that girl anymore. She walked over to the nearest tray of drinks. She picked up a venti latte with her name scrawled on it in a barista's Sharpie. "Excuse me, everyone." Leah's voice rang out clear across the open plan office. The murmurs died down. "I want to apologize for the disruption. These drinks are from an ex-boyfriend who doesn't understand the word no. He thinks he can buy his way back into my life with coffee beans." She walked to the kitchen sink in the break room, the entire office watching in stunned silence. She poured the latte down the drain. Then she picked up another and another. "Please, feel free to grab a drink if you want one," Leah said over her shoulder. "But know that they come with strings attached, and I don't do strings anymore." Nobody moved to take a drink. Instead, a slow ripple of applause started from the back of the room. It was Liam. He was leaning against his office door, arms crossed, a proud smirk playing on his lips. Evan, watching via the Instagram story of a spy he had paid in the office, threw his phone across the room. It cracked against the marble fireplace of his lonely penthouse. But the humiliation wasn't over. That evening, Leah received a notification. Serena had followed her on Instagram. Curiosity got the better of her. She clicked on Serena's profile. What she saw made her blood run cold. It wasn't just jealousy, it was identity theft. Serena, the blonde, bubbly heiress, had dyed her hair a rich, dark chestnut, Leah's color. She was wearing clothes that looked eerily like Leah's signature style, oversized blazers, vintage denim, minimalist jewelry. In one photo, Serena was posing on a horse, looking uncomfortable and terrified. Leah had been an equestrian since childhood. It was the one place she felt free. Serena hated animals. The caption read, "Embracing the simple life. Number authentic number nooms. She's trying to become you," Liam said, looking over her shoulder as they sat on her balcony, watching the city lights. Because she knows that's the only way he'll look at her. "It is pathetic," Leah whispered, "and sad." "It is dangerous," Liam corrected. "Evan isn't grieving you, Leah. He's grieving his control. And when a narcissist loses control, they don't get sad. They get even." The invitation arrived by courier. It was heavy, black, and gold. The Sterling family annual charity gala. Normally, Leah would have burned it. But Liam took it from her hand and read it carefully. "We should go," he said. Leah stared at him. "Are you insane? Why would I go back there?" "Because if you don't, he wins," Liam said simply. "He thinks you are hiding. He thinks you are afraid. He's telling everyone you had a mental breakdown and ran away. We go back, we walk in through the front door, head high, and we show them exactly who you are now. We show them that you didn't run away, you leveled up." A week later, they walked into the ballroom of the Plaza Hotel. Evan was holding court near the bar, looking haggard despite his tuxedo. Serena was clinging to his arm, her dark hair looking wig, like an unnatural, her smile brittle. The room went quiet when Leah entered. She wasn't wearing the modest, muted dresses Mrs. Sterling used to force her into. She was wearing a sleek, backless gown in emerald green silk that hugged every curve paid for with her own bonus check. On her finger, a simple but stunning vintage sapphire ring sparkled. A promise ring Liam had given her that morning, not to mark ownership, but partnership. Evan froze. He pushed Serena off his arm and stumbled toward Leah, his eyes wide and hungry. "Leah," he breathed, ignoring Liam entirely. "You came back. I knew you would. You look incredible, God. I've missed you. Let's get out of here. I have a suite upstairs." The sheer delusion was almost impressive. "I am not here for you, Evan," Leah said, her voice calm enough to cut glass. "I am here to say goodbye properly. Goodbye." Evan laughed nervously. "Don't be silly. Look at you. You tried the independence thing. It was cute. But let's be real. You need me. Who else is going to take care of you?" "I take care of myself," Leah said. She reached out and took Liam's hand. "And I have a partner who respects that. A man who doesn't need to hide me to feel powerful." Serena marched over, her face twisted in a snarl. "Get out of here, you charity case. You're ruining everything. He doesn't love you. He just pities you." Leah looked at Serena. This poor rich girl trapped in a role she didn't fit, desperate for the love of a man who was incapable of it. "He doesn't love anyone, Serena," Leah said softly. "Not me, and certainly not you. He only loves the reflection of himself he sees in our eyes. I hope, for your sake, you figure that out before you lose yourself completely." She turned back to Evan. He grabbed her arm, his grip bruising. "You walk out that door, Leah, and you're dead to this family. You'll have nothing." Leah looked him in the eye. "I have everything I need, and you have a trust fund and an empty heart. You're the poorest man I know. This is poetry, not the flowery kind, the surgical kind." Leah doesn't yell, doesn't cry, just states a fact so devastating it can't be argued with. Evan spent 3 years convincing her she was nothing without his money. And in one sentence, she proves that money without humanity is just expensive loneliness. He already lost himself. She didn't slap him this time. She didn't need to. She simply peeled his fingers off her arm, one by one, like removing a sticky piece of trash. You make me sick, she said finally. She turned and walked away, Liam's hand warm and solid at the small of her back. They walked through the parting crowd, out of the ballroom, out of the hotel, and into the crisp night air of New York City. Snow had started to fall. Inside the ballroom, Evan stood alone in the center of the crowd, watching the doors swing shut. Serena was crying, mascara running down her face. His mother was sighing about the scene, but Evan felt a cold, hollow ache in his chest that no amount of scotch would ever fill. He realized, too late, that he hadn't just lost a girlfriend. He had lost the only real thing in his fake life. Outside, under the falling snow, Liam pulled Leah close and kissed her forehead. "You okay?" he asked. Leah looked up at the snowflakes catching in his eyelashes. She felt light, weightless. The cage was gone, the door and the sky was wide, wide open. "Yeah," Leah smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. "I am finally free." "Let's go home," Liam said. "Yes," Leah answered, "let's go home." Here is the uncomfortable truth about Evan. He is not a monster. Monsters are rare. Evan is common. He is every man who mistakes providing for loving, who confuses control with care, who genuinely believes that because he pays the bills, he owns the person. Leah didn't leave because Evan was evil. She left because she finally understood the difference between being kept and being valued, between being comfortable and being free. The saddest part. Evan will never understand what he lost. He'll tell himself she was ungrateful, that she couldn't handle his lifestyle, that she was too emotional, too dramatic, too much. He'll marry Serena, cheat on Serena, and wonder why he is still empty. Meanwhile, Leah will build a life where her worth isn't measured by someone else's generosity, where love doesn't come with conditions, where home isn't a place someone lets her stay. It is a place she builds herself. So here's my question. When did you realize that being someone's everything meant you had nothing of your own? Tell me in the comments, because I think we've all been Leah at some point. We've all confused being needed with being loved.